legendary golfer Annika Sorenstam. The move signals that the WNBA star is past her pesky groin injury that saw her miss the majority of the 2025 season.
Before we get into the story that's shaking the entire sports world to its core, if you're someone who believes in athletes getting the respect they deserve, hit that like button and let's get started. The world of professional sports will never be the same after this. The moment the club connected, the sound was like a thunderclap on a clear day. It wasn't just a golf swing. It was a statement heard around the globe. Caitlin Clark, the basketball phenom, stood on the pristine green of an LPGA Pro-Am, dressed not in a WNBA jersey, but in a crisp white polo, and with one smooth, powerful, perfect drive, she silenced every critic, every doubter, and every single person who would ever try to hold her back.
The crap out of this event. And they also did something really smart by pairing her up with their currently #1 golfer in the world. And her name is Nelly Korda. So there are photos of Caitlin and Nelly literally everywhere. And the LPGA was so smart in doing this because they knew that there would be so many eyeballs on Caitlin. So if they put their #1 golfer,
cameras flashed, thousands erupted in cheers, and a clip of that single swing would rocket to millions of views within hours. This was more than a crossover event. It was a revolution. And it all begs a question. Did Caitlin Clark just make the most brilliant power move in modern sports history? Or was this a devastating indictment of an entire league that failed to protect its greatest asset? To understand the sheer magnitude of this moment, you have to rewind to what can only be described as the WNBA's war on a rookie. From the second Caitlin Clark stepped onto the court, she wasn't just playing basketball. She was navigating a gauntlet of physical and psychological challenges that seemed designed to break her. The fouls weren't just hard, they were relentless, often crossing the line from competitive play into something far more dangerous.
Play in the Pro-Am with the best women golfers in the world. There you have it. There you have it. The LPGA understand what's great for business. Not what's good for business, what's great. It'd be nice if the WNBA could get with the program. It'd be nice if you didn't allow your greatest asset to get beat up and hacked and fouled.
We're talking about hip check throws on fast breaks, hard shoves off the ball, and dangerous closeouts that had nothing to do with the play and everything to do with sending a message. She was hacked, shoved, and knocked the floor with a frequency that shocked fans and analysts alike. And the league's response? A deafening silence. A few flagrant fouls were called, but many argued the punishment didn't fit the crime, creating a culture of permissiveness. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert seemed to be watching from the sidelines, offering vague statements about physical play, but failing to take decisive action to protect her league's brightest star, thereby allowing a culture of envy and aggression to fester.
Don't say anything. That's what we were talking about this whole season. We were correct. The fans that were saying that the WNBA seems to be trying to quiet the noise of Caitlin Clark, not letting her shine to her full ability, and not in turn.
Meanwhile, established stars, most notably the Las Vegas Aces Zaya Wilson, began making subtle and then not so subtle comments in the media. They dismissed her popularity, mocked the attention she received, and framed her record-breaking achievements as a media creation rather than pure, undeniable talent. The narrative was clear. She hadn't paid her dues, and the old guard was not going to welcome her with open arms. This created an us versus her dynamic that was palpable, both on the court and in the press conferences, making it clear that Clark's success was seen as a threat to the established hierarchy rather than a rising tide meant to lift all boats. But every story has a breaking point, a single moment where the pressure becomes too much. For Caitlin, it wasn't just one brutal foul or one snide comment. It was the culmination of all of it. Imagine the mental exhaustion. Giving your all for a league that seems to resent your presence, facing a new physical challenge every game, and then having to answer questions about why you're not being accepted instead of talking about your performance. Reports began to surface from insiders within the Indiana Fever organization that the constant physical punishment was taking its toll, not just physically but mentally. The joy was being drained from the game, but more than that, it was the sheer disrespect behind it. The feeling that the very league she was trying to elevate was actively working against her. While the WNBA was enjoying its highest ratings and ticket sales in history, largely driven by her name, she was being treated as an outsider in her own house. This created a perfect storm, a moment of clarity where Caitlin and her team realized that her value and her well-being might lie beyond the hardwood courts of the WNBA. The question shifted from how do we survive this season to is this truly the only path? That shift in thinking opened the door to possibilities previously unconsidered, proving that even the most passionate love for a game could be tested by a toxic environment. And that's when the call came. The LPGA, a league known for its grace and precision, saw an opportunity that the WNBA was blindly ignoring.
Of the WNBA, because the LPGA just did everything that the WNBA should have been doing this season. They did it all correct in literally one day. So I talked about it in a previous video how this Pro-Am event originally wasn't even going to be televised, but there were so many fans who were emailing the organization saying, how can we watch Caitlin? Can we come to the event? Can you live stream it? All of these things. And it ended up
so amazing. She's so sweet, so nice. It was nice to kind of get to spend some time with her. We've messaged a little on Instagram beforehand, but to get to spend some time with her and to see the influence that she has on people, bringing people out here, and to see how amazing of an influence she is.
They understood star power in a way that seemed revolutionary. They saw the millions of eyes Caitlin brought to everything she touched, and they decided to make a move that was both daring and brilliant. We're talking about a personal invitation to a prestigious Pro-Am event, but it was more than that. It was a promise of respect, of professionalism, of a community that would celebrate her influence rather than resent it. The offer on the table wasn't just for a one-off appearance. Rumors began to swirl of endorsement discussions with brands like Nike and Rolex that were so massive they could eclipse her entire WNBA contract. We're talking about signature apparel lines, exclusive content partnerships, and global marketing campaigns positioning her as a crossover icon. The total value of this potential pivot? Some insiders whisper it could cross into billions over a career, a number the WNBA could only dream of offering.
And when people from different demographics and, different industries get together and just share ideas and, just listening. And I mean, in the end of the day, there's a lot of common ideas and thoughts and but it's also, thoughts on how they achieve and what's important, the motivation and what drives you. And then listen to Kathy Ireland, who's done amazing things, I think many people think of her as, a beautiful model, and then just to kind of go on and do what she does now with this empire. And she probably just started just like us, enjoying what we do, and then just kind of took a path on his own. But it was, like Caitlin said, leadership, self-branding and this, I don't know, you pick up little pointers here and there, and to me that's inspirational, whether it, just listening to Caitlin, her work ethic and what's important to her. And I mean, she's just starting,
The LPGA's current world number one, Nelly Korda, didn't see a threat. She saw a partner. She publicly welcomed Caitlin, praising her work ethic and the energy she brings. The contrast couldn't be starker. On one side, resentment and hard fouls. On the other, open arms and a potential billion-dollar future. The announcement that Caitlin Clark would be teeing off next to legends like Nelly Korda and even Tiger Woods sent shockwaves that dwarfed any WNBA headline. The event sold out in minutes, a phenomenon rarely seen in the golf world. Fans booked cross-country flights, hotels were fully booked, and a waiting list for tickets stretched into the thousands. Media outlets that normally ignored golf were scrambling for credentials. Major sports networks like ESPN and Fox Sports had to rearrange their programming to provide coverage, while lifestyle and entertainment blogs picked up the story, broadening its reach far beyond the traditional sports audience. The organizers, stunned by the frenzy, declared the biggest crossover in sports history, and the LPGA played its hand perfectly. They strategically paired Caitlin with Nelly Korda, ensuring that every photo, every video clip showed their established star alongside the new face of sports. It was a marketing masterclass in mutual benefit. The images of Caitlin and Nelly laughing, strategizing, and dominating the course were everywhere. For one day, the LPGA wasn't just a golf league. It was the center of the sporting universe, and they had Caitlin Clark to thank for it. This wasn't just an exhibition. It was a showcase of what modern sports marketing could and should look like back in the WNBA ecosystem. The reaction was anything but celebratory. Sources close to the league reported that Aya Wilson was absolutely furious. She allegedly called Caitlin's move a joke, accusing her of running away from the challenge instead of proving her toughness on the court. The sentiment was that Clark was seeking an easier path, fundamentally misunderstanding the appeal and skill of golf. But when those comments leaked online, it triggered a massive backlash against Wilson. Fans flooded social media, asking why she felt the need to tear down another woman's success. The comments section became a PR nightmare, with thousands pointing out the hypocrisy of demanding respect while refusing to give it. Commenters wrote, "True greatness empowers others, and this is why people say the WNBA has a marketing problem." The narrative of the bitter veteran versus the groundbreaking rookie was now cemented in the public's mind, and Wilson was on the losing side of that battle. Her attempt to control the narrative only made her look threatened and insecure, damaging her own brand in the process. It was a clear lesson in how public perception can shift rapidly and how attacks can backfire spectacularly in the digital age. The implications of this move sent a chilling ripple through the entire WNBA. Other young stars were watching closely. What does it say about your league when your most marketable player finds more respect and potentially more financial reward in a completely different sport? Players like Angel Reese, Kelsey Plum, and others now have a precedent. They've seen that there's a world outside the WNBA that values star power and is willing to pay for it. The unthinkable suddenly became possible. If the LPGA could poach Caitlin Clark, what's stopping other leagues, or even other ventures, from making offers to other disgruntled WNBA talent? Could we see a top WNBA player crossover into professional tennis exhibitions, or become the face of a major international brand in a different capacity? This wasn't just about one player. It was about the very foundation and future of the league. It exposed a critical vulnerability. If the WNBA doesn't properly value and protect its assets, other entities will. This single event raised existential questions about the league's business model, its internal culture, and its ability to retain the very talent that drives its growth. Inside the WNBA headquarters, panic officially set off the alarm bells. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was reportedly forced to call an emergency strategy meeting, a gathering that less resembled a board meeting and more an emergency crisis response. The mood was described as tense, with a palpable sense of disbelief that their own golden goose was not just considering another coup, but was already being paraded on a global stage by a rival association. The reality was dawning on them. They had fumbled the bag in historic fashion, a miscalculation of epic proportions that would be studied in business schools for years to come as a masterclass in how to mismanage a generational asset. They had the most talked about athlete in America, a player single-handedly driving unprecedented growth, sold out arenas, millions in new sponsorship revenue, television ratings that shattered decades-old records, and they had allowed a culture of resentment and physical violence to push her away. The internal reports that once celebrated her impact were now being used as evidence against them. Charts showing soaring social media engagement were now grim reminders of the very audience they were about to lose. Data illustrating a massive spike in merchandise sales, predominantly for Clark's jersey, now highlighted the devastating financial hole her departure would create. The league office had spent years pleading for mainstream attention, and when it finally arrived in the form of a single transcendent star, their response was perceived as hesitant, ambivalent, and ultimately incompetent. Their strategy, if you could even call it that, seemed to be about quieting the noise around Caitlin to promote a false sense of parity, rather than building the entire league around her generational talent. The philosophy appeared to be one of dilution. Instead of pouring jet fuel on the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, they tried to distribute the attention evenly, fearing that elevating one player would alienate others. This was a catastrophic misreading of how sports leagues achieve liftoff. The NBA never asked networks to show less of Michael Jordan. They built the entire league around his aura. The PGA Tour didn't hide Tiger Woods. They made him the centerpiece of every broadcast. The WNBA, in a critical moment, chose collectivism over stardom, and in doing so, betrayed a fundamental misunderstanding of what drives modern sports consumption. Fans don't tune in for a league. They tune in for stars, for narratives, for icons. Now, they were facing a future where their golden goose might just fly the coop for good, and she might not be flying alone. The emergency meeting likely spiraled into a nightmare scenario planning session. What if this LPGA Pro-Am wasn't a one-off, but an audition? What if Nike, seeing the global platform of golf, decided to back a full-time transition? The whispers of $1 billion valuation weren't just about golf tournaments. They were about global brand building, signature product lines, and a level of cultural relevance that the WNBA, in its current structure, could never hope to match. The discussion would turn to their own television deal, their own sponsorship agreements, all of which were suddenly poised for a steep decline if Clark left. How do you explain to your broadcast partners that the player responsible for a 300% ratings increase is now playing golf on a competing network? Furthermore, the internal strife wouldn't stop with Clark. Agents for other prominent players, seeing the league's failure to protect its biggest star, would now be questioning the league's commitment to all of their clients. If Caitlin Clark isn't safe from the internal politics and physical toll, then who is? The precedent set is terrifying for any league management. You can lose your top talent not just a retirement or free agency, but an outright defection to a completely different sport. This opens up a new and frightening front in the war for talent, one the WNBA is uniquely vulnerable to. The very foundation of the league, its claim to be the pinnacle of professional women's basketball, is undermined if the world sees that the pinnacle of women's sports earning and respect might exist elsewhere. The legacy of this moment will haunt the WNBA for a generation. It's a story of a league that was given a gift and failed to unwrap it, a cautionary tale about what happens when bureaucracy fails to recognize a paradigm shift. The panic in that room wasn't just about losing a player. It was about losing their moment in history, a chance to permanently cement themselves in the mainstream sports landscape, an opportunity that may never knock with such force again. The alarm bells weren't just ringing. They were sounding the death knell for a future that could have been, all because they failed to understand a simple, timeless principle. When you have a comet, you don't hide its light. You clear the entire sky for it to shine. So, what does this all mean for the future of Caitlin Clark? And for women's sports as a whole? This moment transcends a simple career change. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a basketball player. She is on the verge of becoming a global sports icon, a multi-sport brand that exists beyond any single league. Her influence is already worldwide, evidenced by a French reporter traveling to the U.S. specifically to document her, and fans from the Philippines, Chile, and Australia sending her birthday messages, proving her ability to inspire across geographical and cultural boundaries. Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo attributes this to a unique combination of timing and her revolutionary style of play, which brought a new, thrilling flair to the women's game that casual and hardcore fans alike found irresistible. She's proving that true talent cannot be contained. She's showing every young girl that you don't have to put up with a toxic environment, that your value is yours to define. The WNBA is now facing its most critical juncture, a moment defined by both unprecedented growth and profound internal tension. The league is in the midst of its most pivotal labor negotiations in history, with the current collective bargaining agreement, CBA, expiring and the players' union demanding a transformational contract. This comes at a time when the league's value has skyrocketed. Team valuations have reached billions, and a new media rights deal is worth about $2.2 billion. Yet the players, including Clark, who earn a base salary of just $78,066, feel they have not received their fair share of this explosion. This disconnect has led to a crisis of leadership, with players like Union President Nafisa Collier publicly denouncing Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's leadership and reporting contentious private comments, leading to a significant erosion of trust. Owners and executives are also questioning Engelbert's communication style and strategic decisions, with some believing a new commissioner is needed to lead the league forward. Furthermore, the league is grappling with a crisis in officiating, which has been consistently criticized for its inconsistency and for allowing a level of physicality that has contributed to a season riddled with injuries. The players are now organized and empowered, with alternative leagues like Breanna Stewart and Collier's unrivaled, offering higher off-season salaries and a player-centric vision, giving them significant leverage in negotiations. If the WNBA cannot learn this brutal lesson in respect, marketing, and leadership, it risks a devastating work stoppage that could halt its incredible momentum, a scenario players are prepared to face to secure the future they believe they deserve. The story is far from over, and we want to hear from you. Do you think Caitlin Clark should abandon the WNBA and pursue this billion-dollar future in golf full-time? Or does she have a duty to return to basketball and finish what she started, forcing the league to finally give her the respect she's earned? The debate is raging, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe that athletes should be celebrated, not persecuted, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that are reshaping the world of sports.